What up, y'all? In this video, I want to give more notes or ideas on why I believe hookup culture is ultimately wrong. I got a lot of things to say, and I don't want the video to be too long, so let's get into it. So another reason why hookup culture is wrong is that it ultimately makes men not want to pay for dates, right? Like, men want to be providers. Men want to take care of the woman. It feels good for us. But ultimately, when hookup culture takes over a society, or even if it's not hookup culture, it's just, like a whole entire mix. People doing some quick hookups, but also people doing serious relationships and everything. Men don't want to pay for dates anymore because for numerous reasons. She might be dating somebody else, many people. She might have had sex with some dude who never even had to pay one penny and still got it. And then, here we are feeling stupid, investing, paying $30, $40 for a date or whatever, it just doesn't feel smart. It feels dumb. It makes a man feel stupid, right? So if there was no hookup culture, if everybody just waited till marriage to have sex, then it would make a man feel smarter about investing, paying for a date, about saving to provide for a woman, right? Another reason why hookup culture is wrong is that I feel like in society, like, slower love is starting to die out. Like, people, just kind of getting to know each other as friends, and then, going out, and it's more innocent, like, just kind of, more like the olden times, and getting to know each other over maybe 4 or 5 months before even officially dating or anything like that. I feel like that's kind of dying out. Like, people are moving so quick in many ways, and it's not good. Sometimes things need to move slower, and that slow love can actually be strong. Actually get to know each other and create a good foundation for a marriage. But without that slow type of love, it's just relationships are starting really quick and blowing up really quick, and and people break up. Like, it's why people get together and they're so happy, and then 3 weeks later you ask them, "Oh, how's it going?" and they're like, "Oh, we broke up." You know what I'm saying? And then that's gonna cause trauma, And I feel like with that type of quick love, it incentivizes people to work on flirting, but not really work on actually being in a relationship. How to actually be in a relationship and have good character. It doesn't really incentivize working on good character, right? And this is specifically for women. And this really F's up society as hookup culture, or whatever you want to call it, lack of seriousness and dating really kicks up. Then pretty women end up having no competition. They end up having no competition because if they don't have, it's because they don't need character anymore. They don't need to have character and wisdom to get a man. So they have no competition. So they don't have to work on themselves, right? So this really screws over society, right? Like, people need to be put in check. There needs to be some sort of consequence for their behavior. But now if a woman is pretty, then she can get a man. But back in the day, she had to be pretty and have a good character, or you get outcompeted by the women who are pretty and have a good character, right? So now a lot of these modern women have no competition at all, and there's nothing to keep them in check, because wisdom isn't valued as much. She can just act without wisdom, act disrespectful or whatever. Men still have competition. Men still have to compete against other men. But modern women, a lot of them, they have no competition. If they can post any photo of their ass or whatever on Instagram, and no one's gonna shame them for it. No one's gonna say, oh, that's immodest, because anything goes a lot of the times for the women nowadays. So this is why hookup culture should never been a thing. Another thing is that hookup culture makes men hesitant to propose to their girlfriend, right? Like, I think this is a big reason, other than, other factors, like, I don't know, maybe at the same time men don't want to commit either because they can go and have sex with other women. But the other thing is that if a man doesn't really want to propose because he doesn't know, it's hard to know what's going on. It's hard to know if she still has ties to her ex-boyfriends. It's hard to know. You don't even know if she's cheating on you, because of all these easy access to sex and whatever. It's harder for a man to propose, right? And this is why you hear stories of men proposing after like 2 weeks, way back in the day, like in the 50s and whatever. Not, you hear stories about that, and then they still married to this day. And like, I know one of my pastors at my church, he proposed to his girlfriend after 3 weeks, I think, and they're still married probably like 30-40 years later, right? But men these days, they don't want to propose for years, and this ruins women because it runs their biological clock out. Imagine, let's say a woman's 25, 26, okay, now she dates a man until she's 31 or something like that, and he doesn't propose. Let's say they break up, and now she's 31. Let's say it takes a couple more years to find another boyfriend. Then, oh, that doesn't work after 6 months. Oh, now she's 34, 35. And it runs women's biological clock out. And it's just ruining everything for everybody, So hookup culture shouldn't be a thing so that men can feel like they can propose. And also they feel like they need to propose because they can't go get sex somewhere else. Another thing about hookup culture is that it just makes a ridiculous request. It's basically requests that a woman can go out and date and sleep with like many men and not get hurt by even one of them. Like, that's the modern feminist request. Like, oh, let me go out, I should be able to date however many men I want and never get hurt by a man. This is ridiculous. It's like, how about put in all your effort into finding one good man so the chances of you getting hurt are way less, right? It's the same for men, that we should be putting in as much effort as we can to find one man or one woman, opposed to finding, going out and testing out 50 women or whatever and hoping to not get hurt by that. It's just a ridiculous request. Like, the women will say, oh, well, stop harassing women, stop hurting women, and it's like, okay, I get that, but I'm not in control of what other men do, so don't go out and test 50 men and hope that one of them doesn't hurt you. It's like, no, only allow one man into your life at a time who you think is a good man, right? And that would make things a lot better, and everybody would be healthier. These women wouldn't have all these emotional traumas from their past relationships and stuff, and it would make it easier for them to get into a relationship. Another reason why hookup culture is bad is that it essentially makes men constantly feel like losers, right? Like, if a man thinks that, okay, he's supposed to be getting sex, right? Or he's supposed to be getting attention from a certain girl or from many girls, and that's not happening, he constantly feels like something's wrong with him. Or even if there's one specific girl that he likes and she doesn't like him, he can feel like, oh, something is like wrong with me because like she doesn't want to have sex with me, or she doesn't like, she's not super into me. And men end up thinking, okay, that they're not masculine enough if they're not getting all these girls, right? because that's what society says. Oh, women are open to it, so if you're not getting it, there's something wrong with you. You know, that's how men end up thinking. And it's really bad, because I think this makes men feel disempowered, right? Men should feel confident. And B, it makes men want to go out and sleep with a bunch of women in order to not feel like a loser. So it drives their lust up super high, right? But if we weren't in a society that had hookup culture, men wouldn't feel like losers for not having sex. If they weren't having sex with anyone, okay, well, they'd feel fine. They wouldn't feel like there's anything wrong with them, because that's what everybody's doing. And then, you know, so yeah, I think that the idea of hookup culture makes men not know where they're a loser or not. Like, some men probably had sex with, let's say, 5 or 10 women. They're still not sure if they're a loser. They're still not sure if something's wrong with them. Like, oh, maybe they should be getting more. You know, they don't know, because it's so subjective, right? So it drives men to be irritated, and like, I think it almost drives aggressive behavior. When men feel like losers, they become so aggressive, I think, and risk taking. Like if you ever see these dudes going like 150 miles per hour down the freeway on their motorcycle, like, I'm pretty damn sure that has something to do with women. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're putting their life on the line and doing this risky, aggressive behavior. I think it's because they feel like a loser. They feel emasculated by society, and that's why they're out trying to be so risk-taking and masculine, going 150 miles per hour down the freeway on their motorcycle, about to die if they hit into something. You know, I think that the society, literally, like, men start acting in that way if they feel like a loser. And yeah, society has made it so that men feel like losers if they're not getting some subjective amount of women, when really we should just be about one woman. And another thing is that, you know, that it's became unbalanced as far as what men and women have to offer. So men and women are now both working, so they can both be providers, and they can both kind of live on their own and fend for themselves. But now women have this element where they are extremely attractive, because men are more visual. So it's became very imbalanced, right? Where now women have one thing above us, and that's their sexuality. They can use that against us. And it's very, I want to say, yeah, it's unfair. I know that sounds maybe petty or whatever, but it truly is unfair, because now they have one thing up on us. It used to be, okay, a woman had beauty, a man was the provider, right? So you exchange those two things. A woman had beauty and was feminine, and a man was a provider and was masculine, so you traded those two things. But now men and women are acting masculine and feminine, and they're paying for their own stuff, and they have their sexuality to tempt us. So it's not equal anymore, right? It's not equal. So this is why I think that women should not be giving up their sexuality or using their sexuality to tempt men. They should be looking for a husband, because it's really screwing up society, because men feel so emasculated. It goes back to that loser mindset. And like, why are men in some ways acting out aggressive, or why do men, you know, a lot of times have this irritability? I think it largely has to do with men feeling emasculated in society, because women have more than us now. It should be equal, right? More equal. Even recently I was questioning why I have such a swearing problem. You know, like, sometimes I'll be swearing off camera or whatever, and I thought about it. I was like, I think it's because I feel like emasculated by society. you know. So like swearing is kind of like a more stereotypical masculine thing. So I catch myself swearing, and I think that's why. Like, because society, we just feel emasculated as men. We're constantly being, you know, society's trying to hook up men on porn, and it's just weakening us. And then we just feel like, oh, we don't have as much to offer a woman because she's already paying for her own stuff and things like that. So it's like, another thing is that women used to have like a skill of submitting or submitting to a man. It was like what they were raised by default, right? But now you have to actually, like, now women will submit last minute only to the right guy, right? Only to the guy who is alpha enough or whatever. And this has caused a problem because now men have to essentially break a woman to get her to submit, right? If not, you know, this is how these nice dudes get emasculated by women, because they don't have the skill to to break her down. And this is messed up because then, you know, you have to be this ultra jerk solid dude. You have to be ultra solid to get a woman to submit, because they don't submit naturally anymore. They don't submit by default. It's not a skill that they have, right? It's not a skill. It's something that they do at the last minute these days. It used to be a skill. Like, women used to submit because they practiced it up into their, you know, up before they got married. They were prepared to be led by a man, not necessarily controlled, but led, you know. And but now these modern women, you got to actually do something to get them to submit, right? And this is why, you know, I think this is why a lot of women get the ick so easily. This is why they just run away and don't want to submit so easily, because they don't have a skill of submitting. It's all based off of their kind of last minute reaction. Oh, will I submit to this guy? Based off how he's acting right here, right now, and based off how they feel, rather than, you know, based off actually having a skill of submitting, right? So I think yeah, that's why women get the ick so easily these days, because it's like they're going fully based off feelings, based off in that moment. And how is a woman supposed to, you know, submit if she's had multiple relationships? Her submission is all spread thin, all to different guys. And it's like, you know, if one of those guys hurt her, now she doesn't want to submit anymore, so they'll cause a problem. And this is why, you know, you hear these stories of women who just right when the relationship starts going well, they sabotage it because they can't fall in love. They're scared and they can't submit. So right when they start to feel like the man is gaining influence over them, right when the man can influence them to feel a certain way and do certain things, then the woman sabotages it, right? That's why, you know, women and men should not really even have relationships until being married. It's like my other video says, like, dating is borderline wrong. It's okay, but it borders on being wrong because of the risk of hurting the other person. And then they go forward, especially women, they go forward not wanting to submit anymore. And then men, you know, do it again to them, because these women probably attract emotionally unavailable men because they don't want a man to attach to them, because they're afraid of a man attaching to them, because she doesn't want to attach. And these emotionally unavailable men hurt the woman even worse, and then she doesn't want to, and then the cycle continues. Then she thinks all men are bad, blah blah blah. It's just a one big downward spiral. I think a lot of people talk about, oh, you know, just find a marriage partner when you can, but I think that that's not actually what happens. I think what actually happens is that specifically women end up, if they have a lot of sexual experience or even drinking experience and stuff like that, where they drink a lot, they end up feeling actually shameful around people who don't engage in those activities. they end up feeling actually shameful around a man who's actually goal-oriented and fatherly, like who wants to be a good father and have a household. Like, they end up actually avoiding these men, you know, and they'll be like, what the hell, like, you don't get drunk, like, you don't do this, like, they feel awkward about themselves or something, so they run away from these men, the good men, which is, you know, ultimately that's just gonna make society worse and destroy them. So hookup culture, drinking culture, it's all wrong. I think that sexuality in general should not be brought out of the home of a or bedroom of a married couple. I don't think that sexuality should be in entertainment. You know, pornography is wrong. I believe that sexually explicit ads are wrong, such as, even, you know, you're going through the mall, you see those Victoria's Secret models photos on the window or whatever. That's wrong. And, you know, I think it just screws up society. Like, it shouldn't even be out, like, sexuality shouldn't be outside of the bedroom of a married couple. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that there's ways of being sexy without being sexual. Like, a woman can dress in a sexy way. Like, there's various sexy ways. You know, a woman can be highly feminine. She can wear a nice dress shirt with heels and some nice tight dress pants and some nice earrings, and do her hair and makeup, and have a nice bag and rings and etc., and go to the gym, like, look good. There's all sorts of ways that are, a woman can look sexy without being sexual, right? And men too, you know, how we can look good without being sexual. Like, yeah. And, you know, and then the other thing too is just bring up the gym. Now you go to the gym and women want to look sexual at the gym. Why do you gotta look sexual at the gym? This is like where men are trying to work out and work on themselves, right? And now we just feel stupid. And then I'm almost positive if you approach these girls, then they're gonna feel like, oh, he's sexualizing me. But she showed up to the gym in a sexy outfit and taking photos of herself. You know, so this whole thing is wrong, bro. The whole sexual thing in society is wrong. I think a lot of Muslim people actually have it right. Maybe they're a little bit controlling in their countries, or a lot, but they actually have it right to some extent.